record this morning's session. Thank you very much. Lovely, right, let's get going then this morning on a sunny day. Finally, some sunshine in our worlds today. So, for those of you that don't know me, sorry, I should be not so rude and do introductions. I'm Claire Holmes, I'm the Operations Manager for Cancer. Hopefully most of you know me by now. And I've got some new people to introduce you to today. So I will just say at the start, Ingela Oberg, who was started last week, Ingela's waving, thank you Ingela, as our lead cancer nurse, who's going to do a little bit of an update later on the agenda. And then we've also got joining the team a couple of weeks ago, Robert Altringham, who unfortunately isn't here today, has taken a day's leave already. I won't hold that against him. So he will no doubt be getting out and about, and I will do a little bit about where Robert fits into our structure, and also where Ingela fits in as well. We'll come on to that. I will do the usual Directorate governance update, just a really quick run through of all of our sort of incidents, risks and our governance items. Carrie and the CCRH team are here to give you the latest update on our Cancer Research Hospital. As I said, Ingela will give you a little bit of lowdown on who she is and what she would like to achieve in post. And then I'd like to talk about what's the plan for this year. We have some national planning guidance and things that we are required to do for our national teams. So I'd just like to go through that with everybody. And then, as always, we've got the usual question and answer session. So please think of questions to ask us, either pop them in the chat or we can pick them up at the end. Please think of things to ask us, otherwise I have to make up things by myself. So keep me busy and you can ask anything you like. Don't be frightened of asking. Not sure I'll be able to answer, but I'll try. So a little bit of an update then on who we are, just to remind you. So the Cancer Directorate sits within Division B, and there has been some changes within Division B as a whole. So if I talk across this sort of left to right, so our nursing team, so Marie Abbott, who's our divisional head of nursing, has now taken over as line manager for Ingela, who you can see there has started as our lead cancer nurse, and we'll come on to the structure below Ingela on the following slides. There's been a change of our Divisional Director of Operations. So those of you who have been around for a long time will remember Tracy McClelland, who used to be our Divisional Director of Ops. Tracy hasn't left, don't worry, you didn't miss anything. Division B has been slightly split into two due to the sheer size of Division B. So Tracy has taken one half of the division, and we have a new Divisional Director of Operations, who is John Awua. He started 3 weeks ago, something like that now. And I'm sure we'll be getting out and about to meet everybody. So we are in the half of Division B with imaging and pharmacy. So cancer, imaging, pharmacy all have John as our divisional director, and the other half of Division B, so labs, outpatients, clinical support, therapies, the community diagnostic centres and genomics all sit under Tracy McClelland still. And then our medical structure hasn't changed, so we've still got Hugo Ford as our divisional director and Alex Colhoun as our clinical director. Lovely, thank you. So underneath me then, this is where we have had some changes, and it gets to the point where it doesn't fit on a sheet of paper, which is where we know we're getting big. So you can see there who I directly line manage. The slight change is right in the middle, where you can see Robert Altringham has joined us as an associate ops manager. And Robert has taken the clinical services, so he is overseeing oncology, haematology, breast, gynae oncology and urology, and will manage the deputy ops managers for those services. Kevin Skilton will remain as our associate ops manager for our non-clinical services and picks up things like the quality team, our data services, our cancer support teams. And then I will continue to oversee the trust-wide cancer performance, and will continue to line manage Heather and Amy as our DOMs for those services. I also maintain oversight of the Cambridge Cellular Therapy Laboratory and oversight of the CCRH, so still have Carrie, and our operational delivery network for teenage and children's cancers and support PIA in that. And I will keep radiotherapy as well, just to say, can't forget radiotherapy, bad me. So that's what sits within the ops structure. And I think, have we got nursing next? Lovely. So nursing is even more complicated and is even smaller on our screens. So you'll need your glasses. So because the Cancer Directorate is so big in terms of nursing structure, Ingela can't possibly line manage everybody within the Cancer Directorate from a nursing perspective, so things are slightly split. Marie will head up the whole of Division B nursing, and you can see there on the left, Ingela will take over line management for some of our specialists, lead specialist nurses, and the TYA team. And we have a new role there in urology, in that our consultant nurse for prostate is being slotted in there. Marie will then continue to oversee some of our cancer matron roles, which you'll be able to see in the long list down the centre of your screen, and will continue then to support Elaine from a lead nurse perspective for the cancer hospital. And then there is the rest of the Division B's nursing there tagged on the end that will sit under Sana as our deputy head of nursing for the division. Thank you, Kevin. And then just to cover off the medical, we haven't had a huge amount of change in our medical structure. So underneath Alex, we've obviously got all of our clinical leads for each of our areas, and I don't think they've particularly changed in a while, so they shouldn't be a surprise to you all. But you can see there who your clinical leads are. So if you need to escalate anything in your areas, as we've said before, it should be going to either your lead clinician, lead nurse, or DOM for your area, and they can then escalate up to us as a directorate team. Lovely, thank you very much. So hopefully that's given everyone a who's who. There is, I will just actually mention, there is an opportunity if you would like the divisional team to come and do a walkabout to your area, if you've got something wonderful to show them, if you'd like them to come and visit, if things are a little bit tough at the minute and you want to sort of talk to the divisional team, they are always available to come out and visit. I think they're coming to radiotherapy in a couple of weeks' time. So please contact the Cancer Directorate senior team and let us know, and we can organise one of those visits for you. Equally, if you'd like anyone from the Cancer Directorate senior team to come and say hello and have a visit, we are very happy to get out and about and to come and meet people. So from a governance perspective then, so this is our Q4 data, so January to March 2024. I will make a note here, this is obviously all from the old CUH system, so those of you that are keen will know that our incident reporting system has now moved into a new electronic reporting called Datex, but this is all from the old CUH system. Those of you that are managers or that do incident investigations will still have to log into the old CUH system. We haven't transferred everything over, so for a short time until we can investigate all of our incidents within CUH, you still have to go into the old system as well. Just keep us busy with two ways of doing things for a while. So our overall incident summary, I won't go through these in huge amounts of detail. They should all have been shared with you via your individual specialty governance meetings. On the whole, we again have got a really good level of incidents reporting. We're able to capture most things, and our particularly busier areas are haematology and oncology, as always. You can see there we've got a few in red, which are our overdue ones, which we really need to catch up on our investigations for those. They are all tracked, so we know what's going on with them, and we will be waiting for either responses back from certain people or maybe some further investigations to happen with those. And you can see there on our bottom right-hand corner how many we've closed and how long it's taken us to close. So I think, as I always say every time, what we really want to try and do is reduce our tail, so reduce those that are taking 70, 73 days to investigate. We want to really try and bring that length of time down. Next slide, thank you. So this is our incidents by category. So the reasons why we have lots of incidents, you can see there the huge lists in haematology and oncology. Just a reminder, it's not a bad thing to have lots of incidents. We have some really fantastic proactive reporting of near misses and things that have happened. The most important thing with incidents is that we learn from them and try and either stop them happening again, or we share the learning across other areas of our directorate and across the trust. So not a bad number at all. And you can see there lots of them, particularly I know we've had a couple of patients on our wards who have caused a number of incidents. And actually that always increases the number, and we need to look at what we can do to support those patients further to reduce any incidents. Next one, Kevin, please. So risks. So this is our proactive way of saying we think something might happen that may cause harm or may cause damage to something. Could be equipment, could be reputation for the trust. So these are all by individual specialty. You can see the top left-hand side, and again we have quite a few overdue for review. Some of our really significant risks, so our highest level ones, are required to be reviewed every 4 weeks. So they're the tricky ones to keep on top of, but actually they.
And with that, she just disappeared, didn't she? So there you go. There's a risk of Claire's Teams crashing on us in the middle of the meeting. Okay, don't know where she's gone, but anyway, I'll wing it then, shall I? So yes, risk. So yeah, we've got good management of our risks across all of our services. So actually pretty good from there. Health and safety audits. The quality team are picking up some of these audits while MAF is on leave, so they are gradually starting to come around and undertake the audits in areas. So they'll try and stick to the timetable where they can. We've had a couple of incidents reported and a RIDDOR incident in the last quarter. And our risks, actually, our number of health and safety risks have reduced. I think there's a couple that have come off there since the last time. Just a reminder again, like all of our other risks, if there's any health and safety issues within your areas, pick those up and talk to your manager, and they can then escalate if that risk needs to go on the risk register. So that's the same for health and safety risks. And some of those will be picked up from the audits that take place. And then policies and documents, which is another massive area. So we've obviously got our documents. I've put QPulse there. Reminder to myself, QPulse is now called IQIM, so Idea Quality Management System. So we'll gradually change that to IQIM wherever you see it. So QPulse will become IQIM, and that's our local document management system. She's gone again. Saw her pop back, but she's gone again. So there, our documents are outstanding. If we can, we really need to focus on those ones from 21, 22 and 23. We shouldn't have documents now, particularly going back to 21. We should be on a 3 yearly review cycle at least. So there's an awful lot there, and but there is good work happening around getting those down and getting through those. And I know the quality team have been supporting areas with those. And then Merlin, we also publish some of our documents to Merlin. So there's obviously those documents there too. Sarah, I think you've got your hand up.
Hello. Yeah, that's probably me just in defense mode. But no, over the past month or so, CCTL has had a massive push on working on these documents. We're now monitoring their progress on a 2-weekly basis. So the next time you come to do this slide, I really hope that we're going to look a little bit more shiny.
Yeah, in your defence, Sarah, your red bar was much longer when we did this about
really?
6 quarters ago. So it is coming down. It just doesn't show it on there, does it? But yeah, CCTL is making major progress. So well done to you guys. And well done for those of you who are making progress. Thank you, Sarah. Well, look out for that next time then. And there's a bit of a list of what's outstanding for who. Obviously, we can share the slide deck with you afterwards, so the areas can look at those, and it does all go out to the governance leads for all of the specialties. So this should be filtering down across the directorate. And there's just some feedback on our patient experience slides and info that we get. Obviously, the main graph in the middle is the stuff that's gone through PALS, and that includes our formal complaints. But there is just a range of feedback from our patients from across the directorate, and all of that is positive. Of course, there is some learning from our patient feedback, and gradually in time when Mafalda comes back from mat leave, I'd like to look more at how we do a bit of a you said we did with our patient feedback. This is all on the positive, but we do also need to focus on some of the improvements that we can make. But I don't want to take away from the fact that everyone works really hard, and there's some great feedback from our patients, and that's just a sample of that. So as Claire pings in and out of this meeting, I'll carry on until we get to the next bit. So I'll get Carrie to take over from here and do a CCRH update for us.
Lovely, thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. A fairly short update from us today, but starting off with some good news, which hopefully you heard via the trust-wide comms. So planning permission was finally granted for the Cancer Research Hospital last week, so we're very pleased that that has finally gone through. Some of you may remember that there was a bit of a delay to that process after a challenge from the Environment Agency about water usage, a challenge that they were making to every new build in the Cambridgeshire area. So we know the Environment Agency are still objecting to this, but they will have to go through a more formal process with the Secretary of State if they wish to continue that at this time. So really good step forward for the project. Another bit of good news is that the replacement car park is going really well, and that is likely to be finished in the coming months. I don't think we have officially set the date of that opening, but that communication will come trust-wide through the comms team. But at the point we do that, that will then free up the main car park 3 CCR8 site so that we can start to do some of those enabling works, which in the first instance will be archaeology. This week we're starting the 4th design stage, which we will be involved in a little bit. That's mostly a technical design around technical requirements around electricity, plumbing, etc. But no doubt we will still get questions that we have to answer and information to feed in. So we may well be coming out to you and your teams to clarify aspects as that gets going. And then just finally on this slide, you may remember that the current programme for CCRH shows the hospital opening in the summer of 2028. Now, we haven't got a final programme yet because we're still working on that, both with our contractor, Lang O'Rourke, and with the new hospitals programme team, both of whom have very stringent requirements for us to meet. But we are expecting that programme to change and that date to push out a little bit. But we're hoping that we're going to have that programme in the next few months so that we can give people a bit more clarity on the time frames. If you could just flick over, Kevin, that would be great. Thank you. And then just from our point of view, just a reminder of the things that we're working on, and hopefully you will recognise some of these as things that we've been out and about asking people around. Ingrid's doing a big piece of work around the digital requirements for CCRH, which we're doing in conjunction with our EPIC colleagues, our digital colleagues, and all of you who may use the building alongside our university colleagues as well. So that we can set out what we think a delivery plan looks like for CCRH and how it fits in with what the Trust is doing anyway, and particularly how we can support our digital colleagues to resource that over the coming years. Some of you will have seen the work we've done around the day unit, and particularly around the nursing model, which Andrea has been very involved in, and we presented that back to both the oncology and the haematology department meetings in the last month. Elaine's been very busy doing the equality impact assessment and sharing our updated plans with all the various trust network groups, which has led to some good discussion. We continue to work on the imaging activity to try and understand how we expect to use our scanning activity within the building, but also how that fits into the major medical equipment procurement for CT and MRI. And that's part of a wider piece of work around equipment planning, which is only going to gather pace over the next few years for this building. And then I suppose final two things, we continue to work with our regional colleagues, the Cancer Alliance and other hospitals to really try and detail how CCRH works with other hospitals and what that regional benefit is for people, which is really focusing around education provision and access to research. And then very final point around both Rachel and Ingrid are doing work with particularly outpatients and the day units to try and support what is your business as usual in terms of what we can do now to support kind of readiness over the much longer period. What can we do now to make it easier for us to move into CCRH, which will hopefully become more of a theme over the coming years. So good news on planning permission. and I think we'll all start to see some more physical progress on this build, but lots of work we can do behind the scenes as well. So I think that's it for me. Thank you very much.
Brilliant. Thank you, Carrie. Yeah, lots going on, and some good news there around that planning permission and the next steps. I think just encourage everyone as you reach out to them as a team to get involved with you, really, and to support the work. It may seem like a number of years away still, but actually that will go fairly quickly, and the more prep work we do ready for that, and the more engagement we have with you guys, the better it will be for everyone. So yeah, just encourage that. So thank you. We should look forward to the next update. A spade in the ground at some point. Okay, I'll Claire keeps popping in and out, so I'll just carry on for a minute and see if she actually stays.
Apologies, everybody. I think I'm here.
But it's Ingla next anyway, so I'll hand over to Ingla.
Lovely. So I'm hoping you can all hear me. So thank you very much. It's week 2 for me this week, started last Monday, so I'm now officially sort of in post. So I just wanted to do a very quick introduction about me and my background, and I'm hoping I'm a familiar face to some people on this call, but maybe not to everyone. So I've been in the trust for coming up to 27 years. Never left Addenbrooke's, never worked anywhere else, but this will now mean that I have worked in every division across the trust, bar maternity services. So originally from Sweden, hence my name. Came here with the intention of just staying a few years, and then, as happens, I met an Englishman and settled down and had children, and now I'm not going anywhere. So I understand there's myself, there's Ingrid, and I think there is an Inga as well. So no doubt we'll all be intermingled and confused with one another. But there you go. So I started off, or my most recent posting has actually been in neuro-oncology, so in Division D, where I worked as a brain tumor specialist nurse since 2009, and then more recently took on the role as a nurse consultant back in 2022. And I suppose really why the jump across for me, I think I had a little bit of an epiphany moment where I kind of thought if I stayed in Division D as a nurse consultant, which I loved and knew my job inside outwards, backwards and frontwards, I think I felt I'd gotten to the stage where if I stayed where I was, that would be it. There'd be no more role for progression. And with all the exciting changes and things happening in Division B, I decided that a move across might sort of reignite my passion for influencing care from above, which is what I love doing. I've put some of my accomplishments in there, not as a brag, but more as a way of showing that I am quite passionate about nursing having a voice, about upskilling nurses, recruitment and retention, showing what we can do and specialize in. And I was quite pivotal and continue to be quite pivotal in something called the Tessa Jowell Academy. And I know that CUH is trying to set up its own academy. So hopefully in years to come, as that side of things progresses, we will have conversations as teams about what that academy within CUH and within the Cancer Directorate could look at, and what courses we could develop so that we don't continue to send all our nurses and HP colleagues to the Royal Marsden, but the Royal Marsden come to us. That's my ultimate aim, but that would be lovely. And then just in brief about my hopes for this role is very much said to be a voice for cancer nursing. There's a lot of cancer nurses that work outside of the oncology remit, so to try and kind of wrap everyone in under the same umbrella, so to make links with the surgical oncology nurses, of which I used to be one of them. So I've got a few foot into several sort of doors and can reach out to those people. And also as the CCRH develops, to kind of think about how we fit into that wider remit and picture, and also perhaps as I get settled more into my role, look at developing links with Papworths and some of the other teams. I've already been introduced to the East of England lead cancer network, and that's a huge inspiration and support. So lots of learning for me. I've been given a team, I think, as we talked about in the structure before, a few slides with a lot of the lead CNSs. So I'm hoping to have meetings set up for one-to-one and handovers with them. I'm also trying to work my way around the Cancer Directorate to sort of see the new wards and see some of the outpatient areas and see the Macmillan Hub and things like that. So if I'm not in your diary at the moment, but you would like me to come and have a little visit and see where you work and how you work, then I would love to come and see that. At the moment, I don't know who's who and I don't know where everything is. So I would love you guys to reach out to me so that I can put you in my diary and make a formal visit to come and see your areas of work and kind of get to know cancer and oncology a bit better. And I think that is all the updates from me, unless anyone has any immediate questions for me or comments or anything like that. But I feel very welcome on week 2 and I look forward to getting stuck in.
Thank you, Ingela. Who would have thought that Ingela and Inga would be popular names that lots of people had? I bet you never thought that. Not like Claire. We get the Claires in the Directorate often get emails for each other and we're used to passing them round, but bet you never thought with your name.
Nope, I've been confused with Inga Harrison before. We've because she's I think a specialist nurse in, is it thyroid? So
Yeah.
being specialist nurses, we were often confused. But yeah, I look forward to more of the same.
Super. It's when I get emails relating to BMT transplants that I slightly panic. So yes, it's well known. Super. Thank you very much. And hopefully my technical problems. I'm on device number 3, and the rest have gone out the window this morning. So yes, apologies for that. I did joke with Kevin this morning that if I had technical issues, I would leave him to it, and it was on it. Very genuine, honest. Super. Okay, so I wanted to talk a little bit around what the plan is for this year. So for those of you that don't know, every year the government and the Department of Health issue something called planning guidance. This is in theory covers everything that the NHS is supposed to achieve in that year. As you can imagine, it is fairly generic and high level, so it doesn't cover absolutely everything that we want to do. And really, this is then for us to read this guidance and understand how we are going to specifically apply it within our own individual areas. So still with what I'm going to present today, it is relatively high level, and there will be some homework for you all at the end, I'm afraid. So a good opportunity to see what's expected of us. I really like that we look at this both from a, it's not just a target. This is things that actually will help our patients and that will help our services become more efficient. And actually, let's weave into this the really exciting things that we want to do, again, to support our patients and our workforce. So to try and look at it with a slightly positive spin on it. So the National Planning Guidance, I have included everything here. This is obviously trust-wide, but I've tried to relate it to us within the Cancer Directorate. So what we need to do is to improve our A&E waiting time. So you'll probably all have seen from the news, we have a huge amount of patients waiting in A&E for an awful long time. We want to try and get back to a 78% standard of patients to be seen within 4 hours. And that's gone up slightly from what it was last year. Within the Cancer Directorate, we are not great at this. We're currently sitting around the 45% mark. So obviously this for us is those patients who, if they are oncology, haematology patients, may be immunocompromised, are sitting in A&E waiting to be seen for far too long. None of us want that. For our surgical patients, again, patients are waiting a long time to be seen. Sometimes it's the complexity of our patients, so they may be under another specialty first and then they might be transferred over to us later. I know we've had a patient this morning who was under another team first and then has come to us. But it's really important that our medical teams in particular are available and are down in A&E really quickly to see these patients. And then that we've actually got a bed for them to come into within our Directorate beds. So that's something that we really want to try and focus on this year. Our elective care, so this is patients where we plan to admit them. So we want to try and eliminate those patients waiting over 65 weeks. So I'd just like you to think a little bit about how would you feel if that was you? These are patients who are waiting a huge amount of time for routine surgery. So we have patients within our urology service and we have a few within breast who have waited that long. We've actually got 2 patients being treated today who are over 78 weeks and we have to have those treated by the end of tomorrow. One of those patients is at week 222. That's how long they've waited. So really, really not good for patients. Again, you wouldn't want that if that was you or one of your family members. So we've really got to try and reduce that wait for treatments. And there's various parts of that. That's looking at how quick can we see patients for their first appointment. Can we do what we call one-stop clinics, where we do some diagnostic tests at the same time as a patient coming in to see a clinician? Do all patients have to see a doctor? Can we have some nurse-led stuff in there? And how can we make our pathways more efficient to try and reduce that wait time down? There's some other complicated figures in there around a national value weighted activity. Basically, that means we need to try and do more with the resource that we've got. So are we using our theatre lists and filling our theatre lists effectively? Are we filling our day units, our chemotherapy day units effectively? Have we got spare capacity that we could use? That's what that really means. There's an item in there around outpatient attendances, so particularly for first appointments and patients coming for follow-up appointments, that we actually do some sort of diagnostic test at the same time. So that's where it's really encouraging us, again, think about yourselves and when you've had to go for a medical appointment. It's a real pain having to take time off work, find someone to look after the children, maybe you've got pets that need looking after. Whatever is in your life is really, really important. And us asking patients to come in for a 20-minute appointment right in the middle of the day is really inconvenient. So how can we make that as good as possible for patients? How can we make it as a productive appointment as possible, maybe by doing a diagnostic test at the same time? And we want to try and increase the number of patients that we're seeing for that new appointment, again, to reduce that wait time down. Let's get some of those patients seen that haven't been seen already. There's an item in there around patient choice. So again, if you've listened to the news, and there's an awful lot on social media out at the minute around patients choosing where to go for treatment. So nationally, there's a big push on patients having that choice, not just accepting the nearest local hospital. For us, it does cause a few problems. We are getting lots of referrals from quite far away places. And obviously patients think that's a really great idea, especially if they're going to be seen quicker with us. But then it's the impact of that patient coming regularly for those appointments. Can they really make it for blood tests once a week? Can they make it for CT scans, that sort of thing? And actually, have we got the capacity then to treat those patients? I know a couple of months ago, we actually cancelled a local patient because we ran out of a theatre time for them, but we treated a patient from Northumberland. Is that really right that we're doing that? And actually, do we need to look at how many patients we accept from outside, and how can we adapt to fitting all those patients in? And I've mentioned there, the last one there is around how many patients we're seeing for first or follow-up appointment. That's duplicate, sorry. From a cancer perspective, so all patients on a cancer pathway, we have got to get back to achieving our 62-day standards. This is across the whole trust, and we should be at 70% by the end of March. We are already at 70%, so we're ahead of that one. We've just got to maintain our position. For patients on a diagnostic pathway within cancer, so this is telling a patient that they do or do not have cancer. By day 28, we should be achieving 77%. And again, we are already ahead of that target, so that's really good. A new one there for us is around increasing the percentage of cancers diagnosed at what we call stage 1 and stage 2. So these are patients that we are diagnosing really early with an early cancer that in theory is curative. And we use our national, what we call COSD data, Cancer Outcomes Services data set, to report that data. There's also a metric in there about patients who are having imaging, and that it should be 10 days from the date that you request cancer pathway imaging to the report being generated, which we normally work on a 7-day to the appointment and then 3 days to a report. So that's in there now. And then a non-cancer one for diagnostics at the end. So patients who should have their diagnostic test within 6 weeks. Again, this is largely for urology, where we do cystoscopies and urodynamics treatments. And again, we aren't quite hitting that 6-week target yet. We've got a lot of work to do, particularly for urodynamics for that one. Next slide, please, Kevin.
Claire, can I just make a very quick comment? Sorry. You may not see my hand up. No, it's all right. Just in regards to the patient choice of centre, I think a lot of that comes down to as well about us as clinicians, nurses, whatever, healthcare professionals, having that open communication with your patients, because I think a lot of it is by reputation that they want to come to a centre of excellence. Absolutely. But they may not always realise, and I've had that a few times in my previous post, that through the MDT, we actually, I don't want to use the word dictate, but obviously you discuss in an MDT about the best pathway for that patient, and then that care can be delivered locally. And I think once we said that to the patients, that actually you're getting given the same care with the same machines and the same, whether it's at CUH or Ipswich or Norwich in our case, and then they kind of sit back and, oh, well, that's all right, that as long as CUH has oversight. So I think, yeah, a lot of that comes down to good old communication.
Absolutely. No, that's a really good point. Thank you, Nicola. So I've come on to here in terms of what we have said as a Cancer Directorate we will do to achieve all those national requirements. And I won't go through them all individually, but there's some really, really exciting things in there around looking at improving outpatient efficiency. Again, you know, let's not think about these as targets. Let's think about, are we really providing the really good, high quality outpatient services? Can we do things differently just to make things more efficient? So really simple things like when patients come in for their outpatient appointment, has their CT scan been reported? And actually, are we asking patients to come back on another day because things haven't been reported? Have we got their bloods? That sort of thing. So really important things there. We've got some developments within workforce, within our medical oncology service, and looking at creating a professorship role. Obviously, continuing with our patient self-management, looking at holistic needs assessment, end of treatment summaries. We want to try and use our EPIC a bit differently to monitor our cancer weights. Again, thinking about efficiency. Currently, we duplicate a lot of our recording for cancer weights and our root cause analysis and our COSD submissions. So can we make that more efficient? And then we've got time to do important things. And particularly looking at reducing our follow-ups. And again, medical haematology have got a great piece of work going on to look at some of those. And one thing that we've wanted to do for a long time is look at late effects. And I know that lots of you will be really keen from a cancer perspective to start looking at late effects. What do we do to support our patients? And that doesn't necessarily mean that we have to provide it, but where do we signpost patients to with support for late effects? From a diagnostics perspective there, the bottom one, again, we've got to look at our urodynamics and cystoscopy pathways and look at, again, whether we can be more efficient and whether we can increase our activity levels there to reduce the weights for those. Next slide, please. Thank you. From an inpatient perspective, we will not be getting any more beds. So we have to try and manage all these increasing patients through the existing bed base that we've got. Again, if you think about yourself, you would not want to be in a hospital bed any longer than you had to be. So how can we be more efficient at discharging patients, making sure that we've got discharge summaries, that patients to take out medication, TTO medication is ready, and that we can get those patients home when they need to go home. Specifically looking at a new service for patients who have got rectal cancer. So this is a new rectal brachytherapy service that we're wanting to start within radiotherapy. We're looking at a mobile chemotherapy unit. Those of you that have got links to our mobile, to our existing Onc and Heme Day units will know we are very, very full, and looking at a mobile chemotherapy unit that we can move around the region so patients can have their chemo closer to home. I've mentioned about length of stay decreases there. So again, how can we not admit people if they don't need to come in, use the virtual ward? How can we reduce our length of stay? Just been looking at some figures this morning for our robotic surgery length of stay, and we've had some fantastic achievements in gynae oncology and urology for robotic surgery, where patients are able to go home 2 or 3 days earlier than they would have done before. So really fantastic work. We're looking at creating what's called a bladder outflow surgery hub with our colleagues over at North West Anglia, so Peterborough and Hinchinbrook. And again, that will really ensure that patients across the whole system have access to really quick surgery for bladder outflow problems. There's 5 different procedures that we currently do that we're looking at there. And I've mentioned already about robotic cases, so we want to try and increase our number of robotic cases. The other areas of development, so the other exciting things we're doing is our cellular therapy laboratory. We'd really like to move to the new facility in the Geoffrey Cheer Biomedical Centre, and we're a really good place in the business case to do that. There was a business case that went looking at gene therapy for patients with medical haematology conditions, and we're just waiting for some nice approval for those. Martin Besser and the sickle cell team have just had approval regionally for a new regional sickle cell service that Adam Brooks will lead on, and that's particularly developing services for patients with sickle cell at Bedford and Luton Hospital and at Colchester as well, which will be Colchester, Chelmsford. I always get them mixed up, apologies, which will be fantastic. That means that those patients don't have to go into London for their treatment. We really want to focus on our practice development provision, particularly in oncology and haematology. Again, we are recruiting a huge amount of new chemo nurses and nurses that will treat patients having transplants, haematological transplants and CAR-Ts. And in order to get those nurses up to speed, we really need to focus on our practice development provision. So really important for us. And of course, there we will continue our plans for the Cambridge Cancer Research Hospital, which will be an ongoing project until we open. I think, was that my last slide? Your homework. I can't forget your homework. So obviously we've got some really, really high level ideas there of what we want to do, but I really need your help to think about in your area, are we providing best quality and efficient services to patients? Do we duplicate things? Do we do a process because we've always done it that way? And actually there might be a different way to do things. Really think about the things that probably annoy you, that drive you mad on a daily basis. How can we either use IT better? How can we say, look at our processes and try and improve our efficiency? It will be the really small things that can make such a huge difference. And I know our haematology admin team have done some work recently looking at how our various different roles work differently to support our nursing team, particularly in outpatients. And I'm hoping they'll come to a future one of these and tell us what they've done. But how can we sort of implement those sorts of ideas? So please have a think. Don't be worried about suggesting things. There's no such thing as a silly suggestion. They will all be really helpful. If you wanted to speak to either your line manager or your deputy ops manager, or please email the Cancer Directorate senior team, any idea, even if you're not sure how to fix it, but it's something that drives you mad. Let's see if we can fix it. Kevin's going to say innovation change station.
Yeah, I am. Yeah, go on, you can say it.
That's fine. So we have a Cancer Directorate Innovation Change Station, which is a way of submitting ideas that you've got for improving things. And what I will do is we can circulate the link for that. It is on our Cancer Directorate Connect pages if you want to just circulate it on there. Either way, the most important thing is just telling someone about your idea or about your thing that you think's really inefficient. And then let's help you fix it, or someone else can fix it for you. I think that really is my last slide. Fantastic. Thank you very much. So over to you. Has anyone got any questions they would like to ask? Quiet. Oh, come on. Don't let me down. Ingela, go for it.
Yeah, so it's actually a question for the Cancer Research Hospital team. I was recently approached by the outpatient strategy team. I think they're looking at developing a new outpatient strategy. So I'm just wondering, are we linking in with that team in regards to setting a joint strategy going forwards for the CCRH, or is that too far in the future to consider?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think it's really important that we do work with them as well. I know Rachel has had some conversation with them. Rachel, do you want to say anything?
Yes, so yeah, we are in discussions with them, Ingela, but if there is a particular person that you've spoken to, it'd be good to know that we're just talking to the right people. But yes, we are doing so and linking in with the DOMs about current services and how we can make those changes now going forward.
Fabulous. I suspect it would be the same teams because they came to one of our non-medical consultant groups just to get some ideas of what we would like outpatients to look at. And I suppose going back onto Claire's point, just for everyone, that's one of the things that you could think about, you know, how looking forward for the next 5-10 years, what would you want outpatients to look at? So one of the really interesting and exciting things that we brought up in the non-medical consultant group, really as a thanks to COVID, was postal bloods. So the patients that are undergoing liver transplants or multi-organ transplants, they come from all over the region and sometimes beyond. And rather than dragging patients here to phlebotomy to have the bloods, you could then post out postal blood. So that was something, for example, that the outpatient teams took with them, and I thought that was something that we could try and emulate across the board. So exactly those small things that can make a huge difference. My other question as well to the CCRH, sorry, I'm still getting my head around everything, is you talked about the provision of CT and MRI scans. Is that going to include things like PET spectroscopy scans at the CCRH, or will that stay as part of Addenbrookes?
Yeah, so there is no plan to put a PET scanner in CCRH.
Okay.
There was originally a PET scanner as part of the design, but that got changed probably 18 months ago, 2 years ago. We changed the design of the ground floor, so yeah, it's just CT and MRI. But I mean, that does sort of raise the point of whatever goes into CCRH, we just, and the imaging team are very conscious of this, how we make the imaging provision part of the kind of campus-wide imaging strategy. So, okay, there's no PET in CCRH, but the chances are there will be PET maybe in Papworth. So, you know, how does that all fit together in terms of the imaging team strategy and the capacity planning actually going forward as well, which is something we're trying to talk to them about now.
Lovely.
I think, Carrie, it's the really important message, isn't it, that although the cancer hospital is going to be amazing, it will not do all cancer. And actually, what is all cancer? So if you're a patient who has had your bladder removed, therefore your cancer has gone, you will be on follow-up and need CT scans. Is that on a cancer pathway? Is that not on a cancer pathway? Where we shouldn't be kind of maybe badging patients in that way. So yes, there will always be a need for imaging across the whole of Addenbrooke's to support patients being diagnosed, treated and followed up after cancer. Doesn't necessarily mean it all has to be in that one building. Super, thank you very much. And I think, yes, on the bloods, absolutely fantastic things sharing like that. We have our green packs that go out to patients to do the exact same thing. So yes, really good learning there. And I guess the outpatient strategy is being delivered through Outpatient Board, which I attend, and very happy to share anything that comes out of that. Again, at the minute, it's relatively high level, but I think there's a huge amount we could feed into it. Super. Any other questions from anybody? I will just do a general reminder. We have, oh, Kevin, go on.
So it wasn't a question. I was just going to say appraisal season is upon us again. I've sent out all the info in the Directorate updates every week. I will carry on putting that in there, so you've got the links to everything. But also just a reminder of part of appraisals, it's a good time to review things like flexible working request forms, which you need to do every year, things like your DSEs and also your home working documents, and just make sure you know what equipment people have got home. It's a good chance every year as part of your appraisal just to check all that out and reconfirm it all. But yeah, just a reminder that's upon us. I think the season is feels a little bit longer this year, but we've got a few months, but it's open now to start appraisals.
Really good point, Kevin. The other one to add in there is job descriptions. So again, for those of you that have been in post for a long time, like me, your job description is probably very old. Still refers to things like PCTs. From those of you that, again, have been around for a while, PCTs went many, many years ago. So I have just refreshed my job description to update the terminology in it. And again, it's a really good thing if you line manage people through your appraisals. Just make sure make sure you know where your job description is and that you've got a copy of it to start with, and that it is up to date and as refreshed is a really good point. And as Kevin said, flexible working requests, home working requests, things like that, computer equipment. Do your members of staff, if they're working at home, need any additional equipment, chairs, that sort of thing to support them being at home? Really important. And then I will also do the reminder as well around our IT equipment. So just a reminder, there is a central process now to request any IT equipment. We need to get divisional approval before you request it with the IT help desk. So please make sure you're using that process. That is for desktops, laptops, monitors, any sort of IT equipment, please, through that route. And again, that will be in the Wednesday updates. I will also just mention, while I can, we've got a new process for requesting vacancy bank and waiting list initiative approval. Again, it's all via an electronic form now rather than the old-fashioned horrible Excel spreadsheet that I think we all hate. And again, the details of that will be in the Wednesday briefing. But again, if you go onto Connect and just search Cancer Directorate Recruitment, it's all on there for you. Chloe, good morning.
Hi, it's not cancer specific, but it is relevant to all staff. I just wanted to point out we've got a staff network day on the 8th of May over in the Frank Lee in the Quiet Room. It's a drop-in event between 11 and 3, and it's all staff are welcome to come along and find out about all of the staff networks and how you can be involved and how they might be able to help you, from well-being to all sorts of things really. So there'll be refreshments, free refreshments, and so come and take your break over there. It'd be lovely to see you.
Fantastic, thank you very much. Good plug. Lovely. I'm very, very conscious of time. I am going to try and go and reboot all my computers and see if I can get anything working today so I don't have to sit bent over my laptop. Just a really good opportunity to say thank you all very, very much. I've tried to include a bit of a spring picture there. When I was doing these slides over the weekend, it was absolutely chucking it down with rain and I thought that spring was never going to hit. But clearly this morning the sun is out. Enjoy it. Please try today, if it is a little bit sunny, to at least get a walk around the block or something on your lunch breaks and go and make the most of that sunshine. Thank you all hugely for everything you do. Please keep us busy as a Directorate team. If you have any questions, queries, if you want to visit, we'd be very happy to come out and see you and your teams. Thank you all. Have a lovely rest of the day and a lovely week, and we will see you in a few months.
Thanks, bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.